The Great Council chamber on Nexus Prime was filled with beings from across the galaxy. 12 different alien species sat in their special seats, looking down at the three humans who stood in the center of the room. The aliens whispered among themselves, making sounds that showed they thought very little of the humans below them. Taman Park stood straight and calm between his two companions. As the chief negotiator for Earth, he had seen many difficult situations before. Next to him, So-Ra Kim held her datapad firmly, ready to speak for all human colonies. Jae-Won Lee, the military man, watched every alien in the room with careful eyes. The council speaker, a tall creature called Vorthak, rose from his throne-like chair. His skin was purple and his forearms moved as he spoke. "Humans," he said with a voice full of disgust, "you have come here because your pathetic species has finally realized the truth. You cannot win this war against the Galactic Council." Taemin did not move. He had expected this kind of talk. For 3 years, the war had spread across 17 star systems. Earth and her colonies had fought hard. But the Council controlled most of the galaxy. They had thousands of ships and millions of soldiers. "We are here to discuss peace," Taemin said simply. Vorthak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "Peace? You mean surrender. There is a difference, primitive creature." The other council members joined in the laughter. A snake-like being called Sthara hissed her amusement. "Look how they stand there, thinking they have choices," she said to her neighbor. Councillor Zelthrax, a massive creature covered in metal plates, slammed his fist on his desk. "Enough talking. Give them our terms so we can finish this business." Vorthak smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Very well." He pressed a button, and a large screen appeared in the air above the humans. "These are the terms for your surrender. First, you will give up 80% of all human colonies. Second, the Galactic Council will place governors on all remaining human worlds. Third, you will pay 1 trillion galactic credits every year for the next 50 years as payment for starting this war." So-Ra Kim stepped forward. "Those terms are impossible. Our people would starve, and we did not start this war. Your fleets attacked our peaceful trading ships without warning." "Silence," Vorthak shouted. "You dare to speak when not asked? This is exactly why humans are not ready to be part of galactic civilization. You have no respect for your betters." Jae-Won Lee's hand moved slightly toward his weapon, but Taemin gave him a small look that made him stop. The military man understood. "Not yet." Councillor Thekvar, a being that looked like a walking tree, spoke in a slow, deep voice. "Perhaps we are being too kind. These creatures destroyed 3 of our research stations. After you captured and experimented on our people," So-Ra said firmly. The chamber erupted in angry sounds from the aliens. Vorthak raised all 4 arms for quiet. "You see? They cannot accept responsibility for their crimes. This is why inferior species must be controlled by those with wisdom." Taemin watched as the council members nodded and agreed with each other. They truly believed humans were stupid and weak. They thought this war was already over. "The terms are final," Vorthak announced. "You have exactly 72 hours to return to your people and bring back your formal surrender. If you refuse, our combined fleets will destroy every human world until nothing remains." "What about civilian populations?" So-Ra asked. "Surely the Council would not harm innocent people." Zelthrax laughed loudly. "Innocent? There are no innocent humans. Your entire species is a disease that spread too far into space. If you do not surrender, we will cure the galaxy of this disease permanently." The other council members made sounds of agreement. Some even applauded. Taemin felt a cold anger growing inside him, but his face showed nothing. He had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He knew when an enemy showed their true nature. The council was not interested in peace or justice. They wanted complete control over humanity. "We understand your position," Taemin said calmly. Vorthak seemed pleased. "Good. Finally, the humans show some sense. When you return with your surrender, we will be generous. Some of your people will be allowed to live as servants and workers for the council races." "How kind," Jaewon said quietly, but his voice carried a dangerous edge. Sthara slithered closer to the edge of her platform. "I look forward to studying human behavior when they are properly controlled. Your species shows interesting fear responses." "Sora." Kim closed her datapad with a sharp click. The sound seemed very loud in the chamber. Taemin looked up at each council member, memorizing their faces. These beings had just told him they planned to enslave or destroy his entire species. They seemed proud of this plan. "We have heard your terms," Taemin said. "We understand what you want from humanity." "Excellent," Vorthak said. "Your ship is ready to take you back to Earth. Do not waste our time by trying to negotiate. These terms will not change." Taemin turned to look at Sora and Jaewon. Both of them nodded slightly. They understood each other without words. "In that case," Taemin said as he turned back to face the council, "the United Earth Federation withdraws from these negotiations." The chamber fell silent. Vorthak's 4 eyes blinked several times, as if he could not understand what he had just heard. "What did you say?" the council speaker asked. "We withdraw from negotiations," Taemin repeated clearly. "We will settle this matter through other means." Taemin began walking toward the exit. Sora and Jaewon followed him without looking back at the aliens. "You cannot leave!" Vorthak shouted. "You will accept our terms or be destroyed." Taemin stopped at the chamber door and looked back one final time. "You have made your choice clear, Counselor Vorthak. Now we will make ours." The 3 humans walked out of the chamber, their footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. For several seconds, nobody in the council chamber moved or spoke. Then Vorthak began to laugh. Soon all the council members were laughing and making joyful sounds. "Did you see that?" Zelthrax roared with amusement. "They think they can fight us! Primitives who barely learned to travel between stars." "This makes everything easier," Sthara hissed happily. "Now we can destroy them without pretending to care about peace." Vorthak wiped tears of laughter from his eyes. "Alert all fleets. Begin the final attack on human space. In 1 month, the human problem will be solved forever." The council members continued celebrating as the chamber filled with the sounds of their joy. None of them noticed the small device that Sora Kim had quietly placed under the central table. None of them saw the tiny light that showed it was recording everything they said. Outside the chamber, the 3 humans walked silently to their ship. They had work to do. 3 days after the humans left Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was still celebrating. Vorthak sat in his private office, reviewing reports from military commanders across the galaxy. Every message brought good news about the coming attack on human space. "The humans have sealed their fate," he said to his aide, a small creature called Plix. "Our intelligence reports show panic spreading through their colonies. They know they cannot win." On the military space station called Iron Fist, Commander Zeltrax stood before a massive display showing the positions of Council fleets. Red dots marked over 2,000 warships spread across 12 sectors. Each dot represented enough firepower to destroy a small planet. "Begin moving all fleets toward human space," Zelthrax ordered his officers. "The primitives want to fight? We will show them what real military power looks like." His aide, Colonel Drex, pulled up tactical data on his screen. "Sir, our analysts estimate complete victory within 30 days. Human technology is at least 50 years behind ours. Their largest ships are smaller than our destroyers." Zeltrax made a sound of satisfaction. 30 days? I think we can do better than that. Signal the fleet commanders. Tell them I want this finished in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, on Earth, a very different scene was taking place in the underground war room beneath Geneva. The room was filled with screens showing star charts, fleet positions, and communication data. Dozens of people worked quietly at their stations. Taemin Park stood before a large table surrounded by the most important people in human government and military. Defense Minister Young-Ho Choi looked tired but determined. Fleet Admiral Hai Jin Nam studied the latest intelligence reports with sharp eyes. "The Council has taken the bait completely," reported Da Yun Song, head of human intelligence. "They believe everything we wanted them to believe." Young-Ho Choi leaned forward. "Explain our true situation for everyone here." Da-un smiled slightly. "For the past 15 years since first contact with the Council, we have been preparing for this exact moment. We knew from their first messages that they saw us as inferior. We knew they would eventually try to control or destroy us." She pressed a button and the main screen changed to show a star map covered in green dots. "These represent our real fleet positions. The Council thinks we have about 300 ships total. The actual number is over 1,500. Admiral Hyejin Nam stood up. "Every ship they know about is old technology that we let them see. Our real warships use completely different systems. Quantum drives instead of fusion engines. Phase shields that their weapons cannot even detect. And most importantly, neural network linking between all ships." Dr. Minsu Kang, the head of weapons development, activated another display. "Our quantum torpedoes can punch through Council shields like they are made of paper. Our fighters are controlled by artificial intelligence that can react faster than any living pilot. And our cyber warfare capabilities." He paused with a grin. "Let's just say that every Council ship has been compromised for years." Taemin looked around the room. "How long before we are ready to begin?" "All fleets are already in position," Admiral Nam replied. "Captain Aoun Ji-Yu's task force is hidden in the asteroid belt around New Busan. Commander Sung-Woo Park has his ships waiting in the gas giant's atmosphere near Haven Colony. Captain Jin-Woo Seo is standing by with the stealth squadron." Da Yun Song pulled up another screen. "Our intelligence network is complete. We know the location of every Council ship, every supply base, every communication relay. Agent Rajhun Ko has been feeding us data from inside their command structure for 2 years." Defense Minister Young-Ho Choi stood slowly. "So we are truly ready for this?" "More than ready," Admiral Nam said firmly. "The Council has never fought a species like us. They are used to fighting other aliens who think the same way they do. They follow old rules and ancient tactics. We fight like humans." Dr. Haewon Jung, the expert on alien psychology, spoke for the first time. "The Council species evolved differently than we did. They came from worlds where cooperation meant survival. They fight as individuals even when they are in groups. Humans evolved as pack hunters. We fight as one organism." Captain Yoon-Ji-Yu's voice came through the communication system from her ship. "All task force commanders are reporting ready, Admiral. The crews understand what we are fighting for." "What exactly are we fighting for?" asked Sora Kim, who had been quiet since returning from Nexus Prime. Taemin answered her. We are fighting so that no human child will ever have to bow to an alien master. We are fighting so that humanity can choose its own path among the stars. And we are fighting to teach the galaxy that some species cannot be bullied. Young Ho Choi activated the main communication system. This message goes to every human ship, every colony, every station. Operation Wildfire begins in 6 hours. Remember, we are not conquerors. We are liberators. When this is over, the galaxy will be a place where all species can live as equals. Across human space, the message was received on hundreds of ships. Captain Dong-hyun Lim, commander of Special Forces, checked his weapons one final time. His teams had been hiding on Council worlds for months, waiting for this moment. Dr. Soo-jin Bae, head of cyber warfare, watched as her computer systems came online. For years, her team had been quietly planting programs in Council networks. Soon, those programs would activate all at once. On the heavy cruiser Incheon, Captain Yoonji Yu spoke to her crew over the ship's internal communication. The Council thinks we are primitive because we are young. They think we are weak because we tried to make peace. They are about to learn the difference between a species that fights for conquest and a species that fights for survival. Her weapons, Officer Lieutenant Bo Rahan, checked the quantum torpedo systems. All weapons ready, Captain. The Council ships won't know what hit them. They've never faced an enemy with nothing left to lose, the captain replied. Today they learn why. That matters. Back on Earth, Taemin Park received a final report from his intelligence chief. All Council fleets are moving toward our colonies as expected. They are spreading out to attack multiple targets at once. Perfect, Taemin said. They think they are surrounding us. Actually, they are separating their forces so we can destroy them piece by piece. Admiral Nam looked at the countdown timer on the main screen. 4 hours until we begin. Any final orders? Defense Minister Young Ho Choi spoke clearly. When our children ask what we did in the war for human freedom, we will tell them we did whatever was necessary to win. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be enslaved. The room fell quiet as everyone returned to their final preparations. On the screens around them, Council fleets continued moving toward human space, confident in their victory. None of them knew that hidden human. Ships were already moving into attack positions. None of them realized that their communication systems had been compromised for years, and none of them understood that they were about to face a species that had been planning this moment since the day they first met. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Council attack fleet arrived at New Busan Colony exactly when human intelligence said they would. Admiral Cortex, a proud warrior from the Zephyrian species, stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the small human settlement on the planet below. This will be easy, he told his officers. Scan the system for human ships. We will destroy them quickly and move on to the next target. His scanner officer, a nervous being called Flip, studied his instruments. Sir, I detect only 3 human ships in orbit around the planet. They appear to be cargo vessels. Cortex laughed. 3 cargo ships? This is the best defense the humans can manage? He activated his communication system. All ships, prepare to fire. We will show these primitives the power of the Council. What Cortex did not know was that Commander Sungwoo Park was watching him from inside the gas giant's atmosphere. Sungwoo's ship, the Soul, was completely hidden by the swirling clouds and magnetic fields. Around him, 47 other human warships waited in perfect silence. "Council fleet is in position," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Ye-Jin Ko. "They are focused on the planet. All their weapons are pointed toward the surface." Sung Woo smiled grimly. "Signal the fleet. Operation Wildfire begins now." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out at 17 different locations. Admiral Hye-Jin Nam watched from her command ship as Council fleets moved into position. Around human colonies, each enemy fleet thought they were attacking helpless targets. "All task forces report ready," she announced to her staff. "Begin simultaneous attack in 3, 2, 1. Execute." At New Busan, the first sign of trouble came when Admiral Corthex's communication system suddenly went dead. His officers looked confused as their screens filled with strange symbols. "What is happening?" Corthex demanded. Before anyone could answer, space around his fleet began to shimmer. The empty space near the asteroid belt suddenly filled with human ships. They appeared as if from nowhere, their dark hulls becoming visible, as their stealth systems deactivated. "Impossible!" Corthex shouted. "Where did they come from?" Commander Sung Woo Park's voice came through on the Council fleet's emergency frequency. "Admiral Corthex, this is Commander Park of the United Earth Federation Navy. You are surrounded. Surrender now and your crews will be treated according to galactic law." Corthex stared at his tactical display in shock. The 3 cargo ships near the planet had transformed into heavily armed battleships. Ships were emerging from the asteroid belt, from behind the planet's moons, and from the gas giant where no ship should be able to hide. "This is a trick!" he screamed. "All ships, attack! Destroy the humans!" The Council ships opened fire with their plasma cannons and particle beams. Bright energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. But when the light faded, the human ships were still there, protected by shields that seemed to bend the enemy weapons around them. "Our weapons have no effect," reported Flip from his scanner station. "Their shields are not stopping our fire." "They are redirecting it!" Commander Park's ships began their counterattack. The quantum torpedoes looked like small stars as they flew toward the Council fleet. When they hit, entire Council ships simply vanished in flashes of blue light. "Retreat!" Corthex ordered. But his ships could not escape. Human fighters, controlled by artificial intelligence, moved faster than any living pilot could react. They swarmed around the larger Council ships like angry insects. At the same time, across human space, similar battles were raging. Captain Yoonji Yu led her task force against a Council fleet near Haven Colony. The enemy commander, a reptilian being called Scarth, watched in horror as his ships were destroyed one by one. "How are they doing this?" Scarth asked his tactical officer. "Their ships are smaller than ours." What Scarth did not understand was that human ships fought differently. While Council ships acted like individual fighters, human ships were connected through quantum communication networks. They moved and fought as one massive organism, each ship knowing exactly what every other ship was doing. Captain Yu spoke calmly to her fleet through the neural link. "Task Force 7, execute pattern Delta 3. Task Force 9, provide covering fire. All fighters, target their communication arrays." The human ships moved with perfect coordination. When one ship was damaged, others immediately moved to protect it. When the enemy tried to surround a human vessel, they found themselves trapped between multiple human formations. On Earth, Admiral Nam watched the battles on dozens of screens. Green dots showed human ships. Red dots showed Council ships. As she watched, the red dots began disappearing. "Report from all sectors," she ordered. Dae-Yun's song read from her datapad. Sector 7, enemy fleet destroyed. Sector 12, enemy fleet surrendering. Sector 4, enemy forces retreating. All other sectors reporting victory or near victory. What about our losses? Asked Defense Minister Young-Ho Choi. Minimal, Admiral Nam replied. We have lost 12 ships and approximately 300 personnel. The Council has lost over 400 ships and tens of thousands of personnel. Young-Ho Choi shook his head in amazement. How is this possible? Dr. Min-Soo Kang answered him. We have been preparing for this war for 15 years. Every human ship was designed specifically to fight Council vessels. Every weapon was built to penetrate their defenses. Every tactic was tested against their known strategies. Meanwhile, Special Forces Captain Dong-Hyun Lim was leading a different kind of attack. His teams had been hiding on Council worlds for months, disguised as traders and workers. When Operation Wildfire began, they struck at military bases, communication centers, and supply depots across the galaxy. On the Council military world of Zerion, Captain Lim's team destroyed 3 ammunition factories in coordinated explosions. On Nexus Prime itself, human agents disabled the main communication relay that connected all Council fleets. Stealth teams report complete success, Lim reported to Earth through his encrypted communication device. Council supply lines are cut. Their reserve fleets cannot coordinate with their attack forces. Dr. Soo-Jin Bae watched her cyber warfare programs activate across the galaxy. For years, her team had been quietly placing computer viruses in Council systems. Now, those viruses came alive all at once, destroying data, disabling weapons, and creating chaos in enemy networks. Council fleet communications are down across all sectors, she reported. Their ships cannot talk to each other or to their command centers. Back at New Busan, Admiral Cortex watched the last of his ships explode under human fire. His own flagship was badly damaged, its weapons destroyed, and its engines failing. Commander Park's voice came through the communication system again. Admiral, your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and we will rescue your surviving crew members. Cortex looked around his destroyed bridge. Half his officers were dead or wounded. His proud fleet of 60 ships had been reduced to his flagship and 3 damaged escorts. I surrender, he said quietly. Similar surrenders were happening across the galaxy. Council admirals who had been confident of easy victory found their fleets destroyed or disabled. The few who tried to retreat discovered that human ships were faster and could track them across multiple star systems. On Nexus Prime, Vorthak received reports from the failed attacks with growing panic. "This cannot be happening," he screamed at his staff. "The humans are primitives. They have inferior technology." His military aide, General Krex, studied the battle reports with shaking hands. "Sir, it appears that human technology is far more advanced than our intelligence indicated. Their ships use weapon and defense systems we have never seen before." "How many fleets have we lost?" Vorthak demanded. "All of them, sir," Krex replied, quietly. "Every attack fleet has been destroyed, captured, or forced to retreat." Vorthak stared at him in shock. "All of them? That is impossible. We sent over 2,000 ships." "The humans were ready for us, sir. This was not a desperate defense. This was a planned counterattack." For the first time in his life, Vorthak felt real fear. The primitive species he had dismissed as inferior had just destroyed the greatest military force in galactic history. And if the early reports were correct, they had done it without losing even 50 ships. "Contact our remaining fleets," he ordered. Order them to fall back to defensive positions around our home worlds. Sir, Krex said carefully, most of our remaining fleets are already trying to return home, but the humans appear to be hunting them down one by one. Vorthak collapsed into his chair. The war he thought would last 2 weeks had just been lost in less than 1 day. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 1,000-year history. Vorthak stood before the remaining council members, his 4 arms shaking as he read the military reports. Around him, representatives from 12 species sat in stunned silence. The situation is worse than we first believed, Vorthak announced. In the past 72 hours, we have lost contact with 16 major fleet groups. Our remaining ships report that human forces are systematically destroying every military installation in the galaxy. Counselor Thekvar, the tree-like being, spoke in his slow voice. How is this possible? Our intelligence said they had fewer than 300 ships. Our intelligence was wrong, Vorthak replied bitterly. The humans have been deceiving us. For years, they have over 1,500 warships, all using technology we do not understand. The snake-like Sthara hissed in frustration. What about our home defense fleets? Surely they can protect our core worlds. General Krex stepped forward to answer. Counselor, the humans are not attacking our worlds directly. Instead, they are destroying our ability to fight. Shipyards, weapons factories, training centers, supply depots, everything that allows us to maintain military forces is being systematically eliminated. On the other side of the galaxy, human ships continued their planned destruction of Council military power. Admiral Hyejin Nam stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as her forces completed another successful mission. Target destroyed, Admiral, reported Captain Jinwoo Seo from the Seoul. The Zarion shipyard is completely disabled. They will not be building any more warships there. Excellent work, Captain. Proceed to your next objective. Nam turned to her intelligence officer. Status report on Council fleet movements. Most remaining Council ships are retreating toward their home systems, reported Commander Rajhun Ko, who had been secretly working for humanity while pretending to serve the Council. They are trying to form defensive positions, but their communication systems are so damaged that coordination is almost impossible. What the Council did not know was that Rajhun had been feeding human intelligence complete information about their plans for over 2 years. Every meeting, every decision, every secret weapon had been reported to Earth. Admiral, came another voice over the communication system. It was Dr. Sujin Bei from the Cyber Warfare Center on Earth. I have finished analyzing the Council computer, networks. I can now control most of their remaining ships remotely. Nam smiled. Understood, Doctor. Continue monitoring, but do not take control unless absolutely necessary. We want them to surrender, not to feel completely helpless. On Nexus Prime, the Council was indeed beginning to feel helpless. Economic Advisor Plex pulled up financial reports on the main screen. The destruction of our military infrastructure is causing economic collapse across all member worlds. Trade has stopped, manufacturing is failing, and several species are talking about leaving the Council. Vorthak looked at the reports with growing horror. The humans were not just winning the war. They were destroying the entire Council civilization without even attacking civilian targets. What do they want? Asked Counselor Zelthrax. Why are they doing this? The answer came from an unexpected source. The main communication screen activated, showing the face of Ambassador Sora Kim. She was speaking from what appeared to be the bridge of a human warship. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council, Sora said calmly. I am Ambassador Kim of the United Earth Federation. I am speaking to you from the UEF Sol, currently in orbit around your capital world. The council members looked at each other in shock. A human ship was orbiting Nexus Prime, and they had not even detected it. How did you get here without being seen? Vorthak demanded. The same way we have been watching you for the past 15 years, Sora replied. Our technology is not primitive, Counselor Vorthak. You simply convinced yourselves that it was. She continued speaking in a calm, professional voice. We are contacting you to discuss the terms of your surrender. Surrender? Zelthrax roared. We will never surrender to primitives like you. Sora's expression did not change. Counselor Zelthrax, in the past week, we have destroyed 60% of your military forces. Your remaining ships are trapped in defensive positions around your home worlds, unable to communicate with each other or coordinate their movements. Your supply lines are cut, your weapons factories are destroyed, and your computer networks are under our control. She paused to let this information sink in. You no longer have the ability to wage war against anyone, including us. Surrender is not something we are requesting. It is simply the recognition of reality. On Earth, President Myung-ai Han watched the conversation from the war room. Around her, the military and political leaders of humanity waited to see how the Council would respond. The offer we are making is simple, Sora continued. Complete cessation of all hostile activities toward humanity and our allies, dissolution of the current Council government structure, establishment of a new galactic democracy where all species have equal representation and equal rights. Vorthak found his voice. And if we refuse, then we will continue our current operations until you no longer have the infrastructure to refuse. Sora replied matter-of-factly. We will not harm civilian populations, but we will ensure that your military forces can never again threaten peaceful species. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in silence. Finally, Thekvar spoke. Perhaps we should consider their terms. Never, Zelthrax shouted. We are the rulers of this galaxy. We do not negotiate with inferior species. Then explain to me how these inferior species destroyed our entire military in 1 week. Thekvar replied quietly. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human forces continued their systematic dismantling of Council power. Captain Dong Hyun Lim's Special Forces teams had completed their missions on 47 Council worlds. Every major military base, every weapons depot, every training facility had been destroyed or disabled. Mission complete on Zetron Prime, Lim reported to Admiral Nam. The Council's main officer training academy is no longer operational. General Hyun Yu-cha, commanding the human ground forces, watched as the last Council fortress surrendered on the mining world of Kelvar. All planetary defenses in Sector 9 have been neutralized, he reported. No Council world in this region can resist our forces. Dr. Haewon-jung, monitoring Council communications from her position on the intelligence ship Busan, listened to the panic spreading through enemy networks. Admiral, I am detecting massive civil unrest on several Council worlds. The populations are demanding to know why their governments led them into this disaster. Are they blaming us or their own leaders? Nam asked. Primarily their own leaders, Jung replied. Many species are saying they never wanted this war in the first place. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council was beginning to fracture. Several members had already left the chamber to contact their home governments. Others sat in their seats looking defeated and confused. Counselor Nexus, a small blue creature who rarely spoke, finally broke the silence. I think we need to face the truth. The humans offered us peace, and we chose war. Now they have won that war so completely that continued resistance is impossible. You want to surrender to primitives? Zelthrax asked angrily. I want to prevent the complete destruction of galactic civilization, Nexus replied. Look around. You. In 1 week, these primitives have done what no enemy has accomplished in 1,000 years. They have broken the Council's power completely. Sthara coiled nervously on her platform. But if we surrender, what happens to us? Will they execute the Council leadership? Another communication came through from the human fleet. This time it was President Myung-A Han herself speaking from Earth. Members of the Council, she said, we want to make something clear. We are not interested in revenge or punishment. We are interested in building a galaxy where all species can live in peace and equality. She looked directly at the camera. Those among you who are willing to accept democratic principles and equal rights for all species will be welcome in the new galactic government. Those who cannot accept these principles are free to retire to your home worlds and live in peace. Vorthak stared at the screen. You would allow us to live? Counselor Vorthak. We never wanted to kill anyone, President Han replied. We wanted to stop you from enslaving or destroying us. Now that you no longer have the power to do either, the war is over. The communication ended again. This time the silence in the council chamber lasted much longer. Finally, Vorthak stood up slowly. I call for a vote on the human terms, he said quietly. All in favor of accepting their surrender conditions? One by one, hands and tentacles and claws rose around the chamber. When the count was finished, only Zelthrax had voted to continue fighting. The motion passes, Vorthak announced. We surrender to the United Earth Federation. Across the galaxy, human ships received the message simultaneously. The war was over, and humanity had won more completely than anyone had thought possible. 6 months after the Council's surrender, the galaxy looked very different. The massive space station called Unity hung in neutral space between former Council territory and human colonies. Built jointly by human and alien engineers, it served as the headquarters for the new Galactic Democratic Assembly. President Myung-A Han stood at the main podium in the Assembly's central chamber, looking out at representatives from over 30 species. Many of these beings had once been part of the council that tried to destroy humanity. Now they sat as equals, learning to work together under new rules. Today marks the official founding of the Galactic Democratic Assembly, President Han announced. For the first time in galactic history, every species has an equal voice in how we govern ourselves. In the audience, former Councilor Thekvar listened carefully. The tree-like being had become one of the strongest supporters of the new system. Next to him sat Nexus, the small blue creature who had voted for surrender. Both of them were now elected representatives of their people. Near the back of the chamber, Vorthak sat quietly. The former council speaker had retired from politics, but he attended these meetings to understand what his people were becoming part of. He still found it hard to believe that the humans had kept their promise not to seek revenge. The opening ceremony was interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Security officers were escorting someone to their seat. Zelthrax, the only council member who had voted to continue fighting. He had spent the past months in prison, but the new government had decided to release him as a gesture of reconciliation. Ambassador Taemin Park, now serving as Secretary General of the Assembly, approached Zelthrax calmly. Counselor, your seat is reserved in Section 7 with the other representatives from your homeworld. Zelthrax looked around the chamber with obvious discomfort. I still do not understand why you allow me to be here. In your position, I would have executed all former council leaders. That is exactly why you are here, Tae Min replied. We want you to see how a different kind of government works. Maybe you will learn something useful. Dr. Hae-won Young, now serving as Director of Interspecies Relations, watched the interaction with interest. Her studies of alien psychology had helped design the new government structure. Every species was represented fairly, but no single group could control the others. The transformation has been remarkable, she said to Admiral Nam, who was observing, from the security section. 6 months ago, these species were trying to destroy each other. Now they are arguing about trade regulations and environmental policies. Admiral Nam smiled. Arguing about trade is much better than shooting at each other. The real test of the new system came when Captain Jinwoo Seo brought forward a captured council officer for questioning. The officer, a reptilian being called Scarth, had been one of the commanders who attacked human colonies. Captain Scarth, Dr. Jung said gently, we would like to understand something. Why did your people believe humans were inferior? Scarth looked confused by the question. Because the council told us you were. We had never met humans before the war. We only knew what our leaders said about you. And what did they say? That you were primitive. That you had stolen technology you could not understand. That you were dangerous because you did not know your place in the galaxy. Captain Seo leaned forward. Did you ever question these claims? Why would we? Scarth replied. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They knew about all the different species. If they said humans were primitive, then humans were primitive. Dr. Jung made notes on her datapad. This was exactly what she had expected to find. The Council had controlled information so completely that most people never learned to think for themselves. Captain Scarth, she said, what do you think about humans now? Scarth was quiet for a long time. I think we were told lies. Humans are not primitive. You defeated our entire military in 1 week. You built this space station in 6 months, and you treat prisoners better than the Council treated its own people. This conversation was being broadcast throughout the galaxy as part of the Truth and Reconciliation Project. Dr. Jung wanted everyone to understand how the old system had worked so they could avoid making the same mistakes again. On Earth, young people watched these broadcasts with fascination. At the New Terra Academy, students from dozens of different species studied together. Human children learned alien languages, while alien children learned about human history and culture. Teacher Bo-Ra Han showed her mixed class a recording of the original peace negotiations. Can anyone tell me what mistake the Council made? E.A. Young Zephyrian raised her hand. They assumed humans were weak because they wanted peace. Very good, Sila. What else? A human boy named Min Ho spoke up. They never tried to understand how humans think. They judged us by their own standards. Teacher Han nodded approvingly. Exactly. This is why we study different cultures now. Understanding each other prevents wars. Back on Unity Station, the Assembly was dealing with its first major crisis. Several former Council worlds were struggling economically because their entire system had been based on controlling other species. Now that everyone was equal, they did not know how to function. Economic advisor Raj Hoon Ko, who had spent years as a spy in Council territory, understood the problem. These species built their civilizations on the idea that some people are naturally superior to others. When you remove that idea, everything else starts to fall apart. President Han called a special session to address the issue. "We cannot let any world fail economically," she told the assembly. "If we do, people will start to think the old system was better." The solution came from an unexpected source. Former Counselor Sthera, the snake-like being who had once mocked humans, proposed a galaxy-wide reconstruction program. "My people have been thinking," she said in her hissing voice. "For centuries we took resources from other worlds without giving anything back. Perhaps it is time to reverse this process." The proposal was simple but revolutionary. Species that had benefited from the old system would share their knowledge and resources with those who had been exploited. In return, they would learn new ways of thinking and living. Commander Sung-Woo Park, now serving as director of the Reconstruction Program, coordinated the effort from Unity Station. "It is amazing," he reported to Admiral Nam. "Former Council species are teaching agricultural techniques to worlds they once considered primitive. Meanwhile, those primitive worlds are sharing art and philosophy that is completely new to their former rulers." The real symbol of change came when Vorthak requested a private meeting with Tae-min Park. The former council speaker looked older and more tired, but somehow more peaceful. "Ambassador Park," Vorthak said, "I owe you an apology." Tae-min looked surprised. "For what, specifically?" "For everything. For treating your people as inferior. For trying to enslave you. For believing that might makes right." Vorthak paused. "But mostly I apologize for wasting so many years of my life being wrong about what civilization means." "What do you think civilization means now?" Tae-min asked. "I think it means helping others become the best they can be, instead of keeping them down so you can feel superior." As the first year of the new government came to an end, President Han stood once again before the assembly. This time she was not alone at the podium. Representatives from 12 different species stood with her, including several former council members. "1 year ago, this galaxy was divided between rulers and subjects," she announced. "Today, we are all citizens of a shared democracy. We have learned that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. We have learned that cooperation achieves more than domination. And we have learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice." In the audience, a young reporter from the Galactic News Service raised her hand. "President Han, some people say that humans won the war too easily. They wonder if you had some secret advantage." President Han smiled. "Our secret advantage was simple. We had nothing left to lose, so we prepared for the worst. But more importantly, we never forgot that we wanted peace, not conquest. When you fight for survival and freedom, you fight harder than when you fight for power." Former Council Military Commander Krex, now serving as a military advisor to the Assembly, stood up. "If I may add something, President Han?" "Of course, General Krex. I have studied human military tactics extensively since the war ended. What made you unbeatable was not your technology or your numbers. It was your unity. Human ships fought as one mind with many bodies. Council ships fought as many minds trying to work together. That is why you won." After the session ended, Tae-min Park walked through the corridors of Unity Station with Dr. Young. They passed meeting rooms where former enemies worked together on trade agreements, environmental protection, and educational programs. "Do you think it will last?" Dr. Young asked. "The peace? Yes, I think so. We made the victory so complete that going back to the old way is impossible, and we made the new way so much better that nobody wants to go back." They stopped at a large window looking out into space. In the distance, ships from dozens of different species traveled peacefully between worlds. Human vessels flew alongside former council ships, their crews working together on exploration and trade missions.